Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Tuesday, start of the week for so many of us, and all of our guests today, including Craig Button, TSN Scouting Director, standing by, are sponsored by Basant Motors. We are back, and so is the Basant Motors Scholarship, bigger than ever, with $33,000 in scholarships awarded. Learn more at Basant Motors, BASANTmotors.com. We got Craig? As we bring in TSN Scouting Director Craig Button, our second TSN guest today, following Jamie McLennan. Craig, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm really good. So we can cut this short. Whatever Jamie said, I agree with. Okay, let's go.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, he went on and on about the Pop Latia, so if you want to do that, Craig, you go right ahead. But, I won't put you through that. Hey, your Craigslist edition of the September edition is out. You have American forward James Higgins out of Boston College, the early favorite to go first overall 2025 NHL draft. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good, well-rounded player. I mean, when you watch a player like James play, we always have to put this: is he celebrating? No. But is he close to being at a level of player where you can clearly say he's a number one center? I feel comfortable saying that in terms of projection. And he creates offense. He plays in all areas of the game really well. And he's going to go into BC, Boston College. Mm-hmm. And the best line outside the NHL the last two seasons has been the Gabe Perreault, Will Smith, Ryan Leonard line. At the NDDP, they were the top line outside the NHL. Last year at BC, they were the top line outside the NHL. Will Smith has turned pro. And what a nice fit for James Higgins to go right in between those two players. And for Greg Brown, the head coach at Boston College, I mean, to be able to plug, you lose a premier player in Will Smith, and then you're plugging in a player like James Higgins who can fit right in there perfectly. And they might not even lose a beat in terms of James Higgins playing in between those two guys. So a really good player. I don't think it's clear cut. I mean, last year, Celebrini, there was nobody going to touch him. I don't think it's clear cut. I think Anton Rondell, he hasn't played because of he's been trying to clean up a knee strain, and he's back skating. Hopefully, he'll be back playing within the next 3-4 weeks. But he's a player now. I was got to be careful here, but lowercase type of player like Peter Forsberg. Any way you want to play it, he'll play it. And I think once he gets up and running and playing, he could be a player that certainly could get into the conversation. But he's not the only one. Michael Misa started out the year great in Ontario. Porter Martone in Ontario started out great. Roger McQueen in Brandon. This is a draft where the first overall pick is certainly far from cemented.
And Craig, I know we talked about this player last week, but Cameron Schmidt, Vancouver Giants, where would you have him going, possibly in that first round?
Yeah, well, I know where I would take him, Donnie and Rick. You know how I feel about Cameron Schmidt, and this is our Cameron Schmidt minute. I mean, he has started out the season on fire, and that's no surprise to me. All you're going to hear over the course of the year, yeah, he's really good. Yeah, but I know he's 5'7.25", and I may have said this last week, but it bears worth repeating. I see a lot of players that have height that can't even touch this young man, can't even come close to what he does on the ice. So teams find reasons to draft players. They find reasons not to draft players. All I know is when I watch Cameron Schmidt play, I see a dynamo. I see a player that can impact the game in multiple ways. And to me, if it's me picking, like Cole Caulfield went 15th, and the same things were said about Cole Caulfield. How big is he and everything? I got no worries about Cameron Schmidt. I can't speak for other teams. There will be teams that won't even consider him. That's okay. I get it. You can't have a team full of 5'7" players, but he fits on teams, and he can certainly, in my view, be a player that is a dynamo at the NHL level.
Hey, Craig, you negotiated contracts, trades, all that stuff. Yesterday, were you surprised at what happened in Boston? Cam Neely came out, gave a $64 million number. Jeremy Swayman and his agent came out and got really mad. Did you ever let negotiations get into the media? Like, what were your thoughts on all this yesterday?
Yeah, well, Rick, I always felt that, like, you're negotiating. Everybody has got a position and a position that they believe in.
Yeah.
Certainly the Boston Bruins believe in their position. Louis Gross and Jeremy Swayman believe in their position. When you start when you get to this point in the negotiation, there's frustration that's building. There's frustration, obviously, from the Boston Bruins. They know how good Swayman is. They might not like what his ask is. Swayman's going, listen, I want to be there. You heard what Brad Marchand, maybe you didn't hear what Brad Marchand said. It's all part of the business. It'll all go away. And I do believe that. My preference was always to keep it out of the media. But, when it ends up in the media, you have to respond to it because people want to know what it is. I think that's what happened with Louis Gross and Jeremy Swayman. And Ken Neely felt and Don Sweeney felt that they needed to respond somehow. You're selling tickets at significant prices to your fans. Your fans want to know what the heck's going on. This idea that, we're not going to tell them, we're not going to, and I'm not saying you have to go about it the way that Cam did, but clearly Cam felt that there was a time and a place for him to make his statement, and he did, and now we'll see where it goes. It doesn't lessen the talent of Jeremy Swayman. I don't think it creates friction. The players all know how good Jeremy Swayman is, and once a deal gets done, everything will pass, and we won't even be talking about about any type of bruises that were left, because I don't think there'll be any.
Okay. Craig, I asked you about Patrick Laine last week, and you were so excited he's going to have a great year. And then preseason game, he's out for months and months and months. Drew Doughty's out as well. How dejecting for these teams to lose these star-type players in the preseason, Craig?
It is dejecting, and one of the things I don't know if anybody else has expressed this take, but I personally believe that, and this isn't my take. I personally believe the preseason's way too long. I don't think, quite frankly, I don't even know if it's necessary. The players are in fantastic shape. They want to get up to pace. Taking contact, you can do that in practice and have scrimmages and whatnot. Maybe you have 2 games, maybe you have 3. I don't know, but here's the issue. Cedric Paré is a minor league player. Okay, he wasn't trying to hurt Patrick Laine,
right? But
that situation where and don't get me wrong, it's a dirty play. Like, it's a play that doesn't belong in the game. But that play there, when it's beyond Cedric Paré. So Cedric Paré is now on a spot on the ice trying to face Patrick Laine. Patrick Laine is also thinking, I'm moving through this area. He didn't put himself at risk, but he's thinking, I'm moving through this area and I'm going to slice through and get through. Cedric Paré is not capable of playing at that level. And that's the risk you end up getting into at that point of preseason. You get players that are completely mismatched. Laine's mismatched. He's too good. Cedric Paré's mismatched. And now you have this unfortunate injury. Like, what I would say is, and maybe there's a controlled scrimmage type of thing. You know what? You want to have 3 young guys go out against we're going to put our 3 young guys in. You're not going to be playing against our guys that we're counting on for the regular season. That's a suggestion I have for trying to clean it up. Game 1 matters now in the regular season. Game 1 matters. And when you lose good players prior to that, it hurts your team. It hurts your chances of competing for the playoffs. And I think that it needs a real examination of what is necessary with respect to getting the players ready for the regular season.
Off topic for a second here, Craig. You spent a lot of time in Montreal. Were you there when Pete Rose, who left us yesterday at the age of 83, were you there when Pete Rose played for the Expos?
Yeah, I wasn't here, but I was here. Yeah, I was here. Absolutely, I was here. Yeah, and it was fascinating because Pete Rose was I mean, he was bigger than life when it came to baseball. I mean, he came to the plate. Charlie Hustle, the way he got in there to the batter's cage, and he was a switch hitter, and everything he did was hard. So he was compelling just as he walked into the batter's box. And certainly, for the Montreal Expos to be able to get a player of that stature, obviously he wasn't at the same level that he once was, but there was massive excitement with respect to Pete Rose playing for the Expos.
Okay, and one more, Craig, and again, I'm going to change the subject, but Jonathan Lecker-Mackey gets he's been let go by the Canucks. He's going to play this season, it looks like, at least to start in Abbotsford. Sounds like most people say that's the right move. What about you?
Yeah, right now for Jonathan, I think gives him a chance to, just get a little bit more acclimated to the smaller rink. He gets more puck touches. He'll be playing on the power play. and the coaches have to feel comfortable, Donnie, putting the players out on the ice. I think as a manager, and Rick, you asked me this before, it's one thing for a manager or management to say, yeah, you got to play this guy. But the coach is the guy standing on the bench, looking at the numbers and saying, you got to go out here. I feel comfortable putting you out there. And these discussions are going on with Rick talking to the coaching staff and looking at it and saying, okay, my comfort level isn't as high as it needs to be, and that's not going to help the young man. So I think by Jonathan going down, getting lots of puck touches, playing in the spots that they're counting on him to do in the National Hockey League will benefit him. And whether he's down there for a month, whether he's down there for 2 months or whatever the time frame is, I think at the outset right now, there's a lot that goes into that decision. And I think if they've made that decision, that it's the right thing. And Jonathan will benefit and prosper for it. And ultimately, the Canucks will be the beneficiaries.
You're going to join us next week as well, so you've got a week to prepare for our next Cameron Schmidt question. Okay, just so you know.
I'm ready all the time for any Cameron Schmidt question. It's like, you know what? When I come to Vancouver, we're going to go to a game and we're going to go watch him and sit there and just talk about it. I do. Yeah. I told you last week, I have a player crush on him. I love him. I love the way he plays. I love those.
We've both seen him live. He's fabulous to watch. Craig, thanks for this.
Thanks.